Okay, so good morning, everyone. Kat here again with Dragon Stories, shooting from Lviv, Ukraine. And this time I'm with my friend Stephan Cerulean, and he's in Mallorca, Spain right now. And we're going to be talking about sound and how to spend more time in Gaia in the sunshine. And what I love about Stephan is he's straight up dolphin energy. I met him at Amma's at a gathering with Amma in Oakland, and I think it was in 2018. And he was wearing all turquoise colored, and it's like right from the beginning, I'm like, you are dolphin energy. And ever since then, he's been an inspiration with the amount of juicing he does. He's like only lives on juicing and sunshine and breath for the most part. And so that's why we wanted to have a conversation with him today. And yeah, you could take it off from here, and you could talk about your last name if you want, or wherever you want to start.
Hola, so good to be present with you today, Kat. I'm grateful that we have this opportunity and so appreciative of your initiative to create a platform where we can share our stories to the world and communicate truth, communicate beauty, communicate love through our profound wisdom of shared collective experience and individual patterning. Yeah, my name is Stephan. I am here to provide the world bright lights in dark times and signal that we are not alone, that we are capable of reaching our highest potential and shining our glorious light from within to radiate that expression of unique gifts that we each have as a portal to the heavens, as a creator of worlds, and ultimately of a source member that consciously remembers our reason why we are living and celebrate that life. So thank you. I'm blessed and honored to be part of this experience today.
Nice. I like how you said remember. My friend Wes and I were just talking about that. I was like trying to figure out my life purpose, and I'm like, is there something wrong with me? Because I just want to pray all the time, pray and meditate. But then, and he's like, no, there's different roles that people take, and maybe you're like part of the Brahmin class and this is your role. And I'm like, are you saying that I'm like a priestess? And so I feel like each one of us has a role in this planet, but then some roles are not, let's say, as accepted by the norm because we're like pushed into work and matrix. And so for some of us that want, like you and I and others that want to be outside of the box and do our own thing, it's a bit difficult for us because like we might be considered weird, or why aren't you working, or why don't you have a career, why aren't you a doctor? And so it's nice, like I like how you said, we're not alone. It's nice that we're not alone, and we can meet like-minded people that are trying to spread light and spread energy and move energy around.
Yeah, so if you think of ourselves as pockets of bubbles, we are egg-shaped bubbles that can take many forms, heart forms, diamond forms. We can create consolidation and collaboration through merging our bubbles. We have several bubbles within each other, like a Russian nesting doll. Those are our identities, our roles we present to society, to family, and to ourselves. But ultimately, we are a cosmic bubble. We are a galactic container of infinite starry soup. And so when we remember our totality as a whole, that we are more than just a body, then we can shoot up to the constellations, and each night as we dream, we reconfigure our correct, authentic identity as a more than body being, as a complete soul, the entity of source, the essence of bliss. And then we come back to our body and like get to play this game and like walk down the street and wear many hats. And that's fun because remember, we're here to play. And the play can involve work, but it's primarily a celebration of acting through inspiration, which is the greatest gift we have. And out of inspiration flows imagination, and imagination creates worlds within worlds. If you've ever written a fantasy story or a play or a film, and you are a creator. If you've ever channeled a poem or a dance or an invention, a material object, then you are a creator. And if you even just made a soup for yourself, then you're a creator. And that is your superpower. So right now, let's dig it. Exactly. Let's dig into those at the heart, the meat of how those have shaped us in past and now are presently being invoked, being challenged to come out in new flavors and colors. So my question for you is, what do you want to create today through this conversation? What mood, what feelings?
Well, that's the thing. See, I'm one of those people that like I don't really have an agenda. I just kind of want to see what happens, what transpires. Like not have many intentions. It's basically just sharing our perspective and bouncing and being very fluid. Like for example, when you said I love hats, and I was like, oh my God, I love hats too. Hold on one second. Okay, because you talked about creativity, and I was like, why is it that I'm always wearing different hats, like this one? Or yes. I bought this one, which was made in Lviv, was made here, and felt, and this one
that was fits you, yeah.
This one was only 100 hryvnia, and
how much does your currency translate into zloty?
100 hryvnia. This was, I don't know about zloty, but this is like $2.50.
Okay, yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. The colors, the knitting.
Handmade, and this is felt, And so this is one of my goals, I think, is to have people support the local economy more. I think it's important because you said be creative and have fun when you go outside, but also support other creators, instead of buying things that are made in sweatshops and not the best working conditions, and then you have to use fossil fuels to bring them from China. Why not go back to the local economy, how it used to be, and buy things from each other and trade. And so that's like a big part of my mission or goals is to go back to that type of like being raised in a village and having only one tractor, and we were all helping each other and we trade. And if one has too many beans, okay, I'll give you beans and you give me potatoes, and you buy clothes from the grandma down the street. And I think like, because everyone's talking about an energy crisis. It's like, okay, well, let's stop importing things as much. Why import at all? Why can't we just buy clothes from people that make the clothes here, or trade? Like if I have potatoes and you make clothes, okay, can I, I'll buy your sweater, or I'll trade you my potatoes for your sweater. And I think this is what's going to get us out of that energy crisis if we go back to supporting the local economy and trading.
Yeah, everything's here for our betterment, for our good. And even if it's a perceived challenge, you could call it a crisis. I prefer to call it a guise. It's a placebo. There is actually infinite energy, and that's the joke. We're playing a game of veils. We are living in a reality where most minds are subjugating themselves to an illusion. And that illusion is primarily propagated by propaganda, or the controllers of the system who want to manipulate and deceive. Because we reach levels of spiritual enlightenment through our yoga and pranayama practices, we know truths that are eternal and that are valid. And one of those truths is that energy is infinite and it can be created and it can be constant, and it is. So energy it exists, and it never can be destroyed, it only can be transformed. And right now we are at the brink of a new energy dawn by tapping into oxygen, hydrogen at its core values, at its core properties. That is to say, we are becoming simulators of the sun and the discharge of how our star, Solaris, the sun, intakes and outputs, and therefore downloads and is absorbed through our bodies and every single life form. The human body is a container, bioluminescent, electromagnetic conduit container for transforming energy through inspiration. And that energy in the highest octane of hydrogen, oxygen is called plasma. Plasma is the fifth state of water. And Victor Schauberger out of Austria pioneered that revolutionary awareness through vortex spin mathematics. Nikola Tesla also did a lot of work with this. So the more we tap into how to convert the air embedded within atmosphere, containing the mist of steam, which is a vapor of water, to therefore alchemically change that into plasma, similar to like coconut water in our blood, we can all of a sudden shift dimensional realities through dancing or spinning that vortex of cellular life in our bodies to what we call fully awake or completely aligned or existentially balanced. And when we reach that experience, that's called transcendence.
I wanted to say it was funny because as you were talking about light, the sun shone brighter, but as you were talking about vapor, you got vapor on your camera.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, I saw that. It's because it's humid. I'm in a cafe. However, I was walking in the warm rain this morning as it's a giant thunderstorm here on the beautiful island of Mallorca, Spain. Mm-hmm. And I'm so blessed to be an absorber through the skin of this gift of life from the heavens, from the sky, that brings us nutrients and nurturing nectar. So I am really grateful that the rain is falling today, as much as I also love the 5-6 days of sun a week that my skin so radiantly collects and, you know, provides vitamin D and melatonin and shapes the optic nerves that influence how perception dialogues and interprets color. Color being one of the other primary aspects of physical nature, in addition to spin, which is the vortex of speed or velocity, shape through the pattern, dimensional reflection of itself seeing a form with another. That's the sixth sense. And then, of course, sound being the first or primary coder that creates the life potential. And then all of a sudden, like, wow, we're in a body and you get to do all these crazy things. So, you know, remember to always give thanks to the properties or basically the fundamental laws of nature that govern and institute the qualities we get to now experience that most people don't even realize, or if they do, it's just a quick nod to science. But yeah, like if you're grateful for every part of life, including the most basic, and therefore you get to understand it, because gratitude is the doorway to understanding, and appreciation is the doorway to love. So each of those portals takes us deeper into realization, which is really just total remembrance of everything. And that's the journey we get to be on and have chosen. So thank you for being part of that journey, as you are such a profound inspiration. And I also have wonderful memories of meeting you at Amma. So yeah.
No, I wanted to say I'm glad you're talking about the sun, because when COVID came out and everyone was freaking out, and I was like, don't panic, you're gonna be okay. Just drink a lot of raw juices, get enough sunshine and mantras. Like I was gonna do another separate kind of channel about how to keep your immunity strong, because in the last 2 years, even though there was a pandemic and there was lockdowns, I was on, I think I counted 26 flights. I went to 7 states. I think you were traveling around too, but in America.
Yeah.
And I went to like 6 countries, but I never got sick. And it's like, and I was telling everybody that, I was saying that COVID or Corona is a low vibration created from the lower realms. And that if you want to keep that away from you, just keep your vibration high. And so if you protect your aura and you keep connected to the light or source energy, and you get enough sunshine, and you could, connect to source different ways. Like I do it through mantras and nature. You may do it through sun gazing and breath. And so we have different ways to connect to source. And if you keep your vibration high, these things that come from a low vibration, out of fear or out of a lab, or people that want to control, because you were talking about control before. But if you stay above that, it's not going to affect you. And kind of like what you said, this energy crisis, you're like, energy is infinite. And I liked how you say that, because just yesterday, I finally broke out of the fear of war, because I kept going in and out, being here in Ukraine, and have sirens.
I see that with you.
Yeah. And so there would be days where I'm like, we'll be fine. We're going to get through this. We're going to get out of it. I'm just like, just think peace 100% in every cell of your body. Keep praying, keep surrounding the conflict with light. I was like, you were here for a reason. Keep praying, keep pushing the vibration out there, because mantras are powerful, right? But then other days I just fall, I'll like listen to a piece of news and I'm like, oh my God, what if World War III does happen? And and then I realized, no, all of this is fake. All of this is just a trap to keep you in fear. Just like COVID was, keep you in fear. Just like COVID ended, they had to keep it going, keep like the fear cycle going. And I'm like, all of it is fake. So just create your own reality and don't even listen to that. And now I'm seeing like peace talks are happening. I just saw that Russian is withdrawing troops from Kherson, and I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. This is like the moment I've been waiting for. Is like, I was telling everybody too, turn off and pray and believe in peace 100%, and the more people we have in believing in peace and believing in the light, the more you push out the darkness. And so the fact that I'm seeing results, now, whether it's probably from collective thought, collective thinking on peace, and they're actually communicating. Even Biden is communicating with Putin, which hasn't happened in a while. And then I'm like, it's happening. Oh my God, it's going to end soon. It's very exciting.
Yeah. So belief is the predecessor to faith. Faith develops through the action of trust, and trust takes us into confidence, courage. Because ultimately, when we trust the source of true light directly communicated through the sun and through our heart, our high heart, then there's no doubt. And there's also no question of, uh, we don't question the result. We don't create expectation based upon results of outer manifestation, only because we have inner peace. The inner peace always wins. And inner peace is the ground foundation to celebration. So any successful party or festival you've been to has been prepared as a peaceful space initially before the party is created. And so if you do your homework, that is to say, your groundwork, if you're building a home, you make sure the foundation is stable. There's no earthquake, seismic activity underneath, or if there is, you engineer it correctly. Similar with our bodies and therefore our minds. If we're eating or drinking nutrients that are absorbing light, right, that are highly absorbing of their true potential of light, they're not dense, like basically almost all grains don't absorb much light, then especially processed. And so if it's a fruit freshly picked from a tree that's growing without any chemical sprays in nature, and you take a bite out of that, that is cellular information packed not only with nutrients, but energy to cultivate clarity of mind, clarity of thought. Now, ultimately, you don't need food, but that's not happening for everyone right now. We'll get to that point in 10, 20 years for most. And we'll be living off of what we call prana, or the quality of chi in the manifest realm of the subtle layers of fifth element, fifth dimension, fifth density. And of course, we still have tongue and taste buds and senses to inform our bodies of joy and pleasure and ecstasy and tantra. So it's important in the tantric path to include, to not exclude. So everything has a role, has a place, has a timing. So what we're here to explore is every dimensional potential of how the loving bliss awareness through self-realization takes us into physical connection. Because we chose a body out of the spirit world, and we're so blessed to have a body. Remember that every time you wake up, every time you go to bed, like, wow, love your body and appreciate all of it.
Nice. I like that. It reminded me of this book, James Redfield. I think you read The Ninth Insight, 10th Insight, and then how he okay, and then he wrote Birth Vision. And so in this book, he was saying how before we come down, it's kind of a fiction book, but a lot of people talk about this concept that before we come down to the physical plane, we decide with our soul group the country that we're going to go into, the family, based on like what we're going to learn from them and what we're going to teach them. And I always wondered, like, why was I born in Ukraine? Why, like, a small village that focuses on, organic food and trade and like a small community. And then now I realize that it's perfect for that, because now we're going into this, there's problems. Farmers are striking having strikes in Norway and the Netherlands. And you have this great reset and the World Economic Forum trying to control things. And I'm hearing about farmers killing themselves because they have to kill their stock. And it's all based on these environmental, rules, and they're heavily going after the farmers, and it's kind of like a sad time. I even heard like there's American companies buying up land in Ukraine, GMO, and like how Bill Gates owns a lot of land. And so it's almost like it seems like a lot of us really have to stand up and I don't know, not fight again. I don't know if like fighting is the right word, but stand up and say, hey, no, we don't want GMO. Like that's why I love Peru so much. They've said no to GMO food for the next 30 years. And I heard Italy as well.
Yeah,
And I felt 10 times healthier in Peru because they have a
yeah.
fresh juice bar, raw juice bar. You can get fresh juice for like $1. And I was drinking fresh juices every day or every second
Oh
day.
yeah, it's very similar in Greece as well, like that.
Right. And they're like to have 2,000 different types of potatoes, and they still, I mean, I think they do use some chemicals in their fertilizer, some of the farmers, but
Sure.
and I'm just like,
Yeah.
how can we stop this movement to
So
GM?
we're playing a psychological game, basically in a body that if we use our psyche to wisely discern information by testing the truth of its validity, of its consciousness, then we can very quickly erase 90% of news, which is full of lies and dishonesty and deception. And then we just tune that out and we override it with creating our own life, which is the actual portal of positive news, of regenerative life. And then our attention informs our attitude, and our attitude is what sustains life. I have a grandpa, he's 95, and he's 95 and in his body for one principal reason, and that's because he's happy. He doesn't eat well, and he doesn't live in the best place, but he's happy. His attitude allows him to exist for a long time. And that is supported by laughter, supported by family that takes care of him. And when you fulfill your destiny by choosing to inform your mind of pleasurable qualities, even if it's just watching a bird, listening to a bird in a pond, then that's a fulfilling life. So our choice is our number one power. We choose how to shape our destiny through attitude and perception. And that's why I'm very careful about what I give my attention towards, especially right now, because there's so many, we live in a world of smoke and screens, so what you call the hall of mirrors. So you can go down rabbit holes for a long time, which I've done, and they're really not that productive. So I come back to nature because that rabbit hole produces magic, and magic produces miracles, and miracles is the elasticity of what expands imagination. That is aligned with the vision of spirit, and spirit informs me and proves that I am on the right path through synchronicity. So there's ways we can override the system that's falling apart. And one of those is, of course, just no longer participating in it. And therefore, I choose to have almost like 0.01% attention given to what you would call media. Basically, the media I'm informed by is how people like you and I share our experience of physical and psychological downloads through the software of our internal cord and connection through living life force. And of course, whenever you just take a simple breath or a sip of highly charged activated water, you're doing yourself a divine service by intaking energy has the potential of continuing. Remember to always give yourself some extra love, even if you don't have that mutual support right now.
True. I'm by myself over here.
Yeah.
But the good thing about like my friend Gabrielle in the jungle was telling me, don't be afraid of being alone, you know. And he
Exactly.
was right, because out of being alone here is what birthed this channel, which I've been thinking about for over a year. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it started in San Roque with him, and he was like, you need to start this channel, you'd be great. And I was like, yes, interview dragons all around the world. And I know people from, you know, I've traveled to a lot of 26 different countries, so I've met a lot of cool people. I have like a huge list of people I want to interview already.
Mm.
And it's out of being alone and out of not having distractions from other people, and also being in kind of in a fear cloud, which
Yeah.
is not easy to come out of because it's in the air. And you know, and like birth this channel. And so it's
Wow.
not, it's sometimes it's hard to be alone, but also it's like it's good because then your authentic self can come out. You know, you're not distracted by other people's emotions or
Mhm,
their
mhm,
agendas.
mhm.
And so that's the cool thing. But what I wanted to say with, for example, like the strikes in the Netherlands, like I know you don't follow the news, and like these were not even covered by the news. I follow this one farmer, Ice Age farmer, and he's big on organic local food, permaculture, and he's the one that's been following the last 2 years what's been going on with the different like strikes and silos. But then so I know it's like legitimately happening, but then you're right, like don't fall into the fear trap. It's just like another hole, kind of like I never really fell into the COVID trap. I kind of just kept going, living my life like I'm not gonna let them get to me. And then I came here and I did my best to not go into the war trap. Like I barely watched the news, maybe like once a week I would look into it. I refused to get the Telegram channels. Like everybody is on Telegram so that they know when the sirens are coming. And I'm like, no, that's just gonna freak me out, you know? And then even when we had the explosions here, after the Crimea bridge incident, when the Ukrainians, hit the Crimea bridge, we had explosions here, and my neighbor called me. She's like, you need to go down to the underground. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm here. I can see everything from up here, because you could see the city center from here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but you're right. It's like it's just another trap of like falling into the fear, and like you have to be careful with where your energy goes. And it's like, okay,
Well,
so
yeah.
they might be complaining about the World Economic Forum, and a lot of farmers are having a hard time, but then not giving our attention to it, because if we give our attention to it, it's just magnified. Kind of like
So one of the tricks of awakening is realizing that you're a part of a human collective that shares a subconscious, and that subconscious informs 3/4 of people's internal information dialogue, which is percolating through our dreams. But if you become fully conscious of your own personal subconscious through ayahuasca or psychedelic medicines, or even just a simple, profound inspiration when you're in nature, then you override the collective permutation influence, which is right now mostly negative.
Yeah.
And therefore, being alone right now is actually quite helpful, unless you're with a sacred partner who's also consciously sharing your awakeness with. However, remember that trees are also people, and a lot of animals are people, and they are becoming very rapidly conscious and self-aware. And you can use the Gaia imprint of communal shared space and species to tap into that vein of authentic awakening. So walking through a forest that hasn't been cut, walking through a field, a meadow, bathing in a river, a stream, a lake, an ocean, a waterfall is how you recharge. That's how your life is like, oh, this is why I'm really here. Doing an ice bath, doing a cold plunge, right after a hot sauna. I mean, that's when you feel most alive. So keep doing those practices for whatever it's worth, if you're able.
It's a little bit difficult for me because I'm in the city, and I do have a park like right here, and I should walk there more. You can see it.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
Should get out there more, but I don't. And like it was easy in Peru because I can go to Asangate and go to the hot springs for $1, and I was in the hot springs every day, and then I was in the mountains, and there's no towers. And so I was like the most happy in Peru because there's no towers, you're not in a fear cloud, you're like living your life. We had kirtan, we had fresh juices, but this is a completely different environment.
Yeah. Well, it might be similar to a couple of the cities I visited in Poland had really nice kind of spas, sauna, baths. Wrocław was one of those. And so it's communal baths where you share a tub and a sauna together with strangers, but ultimately it's a healing process. And I find those experiences to be one of the few social interactions in a city that I wonderfully enjoy.
Okay, today I'm gonna go to the sauna just because of you. 'Cause I'm thinking about like I don't get much of what I was getting in Peru or even in California, and I love being next to water. In California, I was near the ocean 3 times a week, and then same thing in Peru is always going to the hot springs, and also I'm surrounded by mountains and like 10,000 feet. So you have so much wonderful energy around you, And so I guess that's what I'm missing is the water energy. So I'm gonna seek that out today. Thank you for inspiring me. That's why it's good to talk to each other, find like goals, in our thinking, or like like we could pat it. It's like, wait a minute, okay, like maybe this will help you, and then
one of my first jobs out of college at age 22 in 2008 was tapping maple trees for their syrup. So remember that another form of water, the highest life force container, is sap, the liquid that runs through trees. So that's like the plasma blood, similar to our bodies, of these ancient creatures that are being informed by the internet of mycelium mushrooms and are the carrier and distributor of carbon dioxide and oxygen. So when you hug a tree or sit next to one, you are feeling the flow of energy above and below being carried through that organism as much as you are tapping into your own body's movement. And that is a form of connection, of sacred connection, of divination ultimately. When you become a channel of Gaia, you enter a state of complete receptivity and absorption at the core of your crystal, which is the heart called the diamond. So the Diamond Lotus Heart Sutra is one of the Buddhist texts translated into English by a couple people I've met, Lauren Roche being one of those in LA, is one of the ultimate texts for you to meditate on. It's poetic, it's straight to the truth of why we are here, what we're here to do. In other words, it pretty much eclipses the bullshit. So we just went through an eclipse a couple days ago, and we get to like really see through the shitty shit right now, and like, oh, that's not really real. That's a facade. And what is real is the authentic qualities that you can scientifically prove. And I've done that in my profession as an ecologist. But ultimately, you want to experience it. You want to share that vibrational overlap of aura, which is a mood that you get to alter your colors by, right? So when you go celebrate and play in the colorful leaves of autumn, you're downloading those pigments into your auric field. And that's something to celebrate,
Okay, yes, I'm going to the forest today and the sauna. Thank you. Well, you were talking about dreams, and I wanted to talk about dreams because this is the other like good thing about living by yourself is before I would have dreams but I wouldn't remember them. And now they're coming stronger and stronger. So I'm a big fan of Carl Jung. You know Carl Jung, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, I've read a little of his.
Yeah, and so he was informed by his dreams how our subconscious works. That's how like a lot of his works came out from his dreamland. His dreamland would take him through the different floors of the brain, and that's how he learned about the anima and anime, the conscious and the subconscious, and the different levels. And this whole channel started from like me having a dream with Gabrielle in the jungle, and then I ended up calling him, and he reminded me because I was like, Gabrielle, you know, I started my channel, but then I haven't really been doing it, and I don't have much self-esteem, and I can't. And he's like, you have to remember, you're the first subscriber, that you're doing this channel for you, because as you watch yourself and you watch your conversations, you learn even more, or you like realize where you have gaps in your thinking. And he's like, forget about the results, forget about how many subscribers you have, just do it, you know, just do it, and just do it for yourself, you know. And then he kind of motivated me, and that all came out of a dream. And then last night I had to share this with you because, you know, we're both lovers of Gaia, and this was such a strong dream that I couldn't go back to sleep for a couple of hours. I had to like wake up in the middle of the night, write it down, and then I prayed a little bit because it was so intense. And so that what happened was I was in Peru, and I was talking to Peru about their waste management system, how they don't have a system for collecting compost. And like it was a shock. It was really weird how I missed my flight in Lima. I'm like, why did I miss my flight in Lima? Like, the plane just left without me, even though I had like 20 minutes before the flight. This is so weird. I go outside of the airport, and I see just mountains of trash. Like it goes for miles. Like I've never seen anything so bad. Like I was already
you were, yeah, the universe wanted you to witness the other side of Peru.
It was so bad. And it, like, I was already upset with Pisac that like locals were throwing trash into the river. And then I was like collecting trash all the time in Asamgate and in the river, because I believe nature should be respected. But at the same time, the government didn't provide a proper waste management system. And so in the dream, I was working with the Peruvian government and I was educating them. I was like, look at what they do in San Francisco. They collect all the compost items, put it into a pile, and then they give it to the wineries in Napa. Like, you know, organic material should never be with plastic, ever. And it was such a powerful dream. It was almost like the dream was showing me my other purpose. It's like one channel. Okay, you know, you got to start your channel and get people's perspectives out there. But also, two, you got to work for Gaia. Gaia has had enough. She is, you know, she is tired, and she is tired of being dumped on and people just not caring. Like even here, I have 3 buckets under the sink. I have one for recycling, one for compost, and one for garbage. And then it's sad when some of the Ukrainian people are telling me like, oh, it all goes to the same place. And I'm just like, oh my God. You know, it's things that I don't want to hear. And
every intention creates an act, and every act creates a ripple effect in the collective. So you, as a consciously awake being, are a superpower of changing not just your own little circle of systems, but ultimately, like your dream implies, countries, international decisions. Remember that it only takes 1 to 2% of awake humans to completely shift the subconscious into conscious. And we're doing that through our dreams, through our actions. And a little bit goes a long ways. And of course, again, like don't over depend on the result or even the timing of the result, because that can create disappointment. So do your part, share your, like we're doing now, like, wow, thank you, share your gratitude, and then relax into the support of trust that this planetary intelligence we call Gaia is consciously restoring herself. And you like do your grieving ceremonies for the trash piles, but don't stay in the grief. Go to the places that are supportive of awakening, for 90 to 99% of your time. That is to say, parks and nature. And then you get inspired, like, oh, I'm here to engineer new Earth, which is ultimately an Earth completely restored, in balance, peaceful, harmonious, which provides the space for jubilation, right? We're ultimately here for jubilation, the joyous expression of co-creating celebratory ceremony through engineered, designed, infinite flavors. I mean, like, think of like the millions of minds that have all these gifts of unique expressions and patterns. And like, you can hear that in pianists. Like, I'm a piano player. You can hear that in vocalists, like my sister or mother. Tone is one of those qualities that you have, which, whether through a mantra, through opera, or just through a simple is a gift.
No,
And that gift can be shared with all life, even the air.
It's true. Sometimes I would put on mantras here and I would open up the windows and I'd be dancing and I'm like, I'm dancing for you, Mr. Forest, or I'm dancing for you, Lviv. Everything's going to be okay. We're going to have peace, you know. And I think it's important to send out vibes like that. I try to do that once or twice a week. It's like, I'm dancing for you guys. We're going to be all right, you know?
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to say was, I may not have mountains here or hot springs, but the beauty of Lviv is the amount of music in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was coming here from California, I was a little bit worried. I'm like, because of currently there's a war, but hopefully it's ending. Is there going to be music? And I came here and I was like, yes, there's still music in the streets. There's still at least like two guitar. If there's still a couple playing violin, like the woman plays the violin, the man plays the accordion. And one time I even gave the guitarist, they're like 3 times a week, my flowers. I was like, you know what? You deserve this. You're always trying to keep the hope alive and have the teenagers. It's mostly young adults that are like teenagers in their 20s that are with him singing, and this is how they keep staying hopeful, and it's that part is beautiful. That part is really beautiful.
Yeah, music brings you directly to the moment of presence when you are a participant, not just the audience, but a participant, right? So that's why choirs are one of the greatest representations of that. Or my mother is an orchestra, symphony violinist, clarinetist. So you're immersed in the pure presence of a deep, overwhelming experience when you're a musician, a dancer.
I didn't realize you're a piano player. Are you gonna go back to that?
Yeah, the trick is finding a piano that you can regularly play when you're traveling. That's not always easy. I've found several pianos in Europe. However, almost all of them have been locked. And when I go to the hotel concierge, it's unfortunate because in the US, I find it much easier to locate pianos to play in cathedrals, churches, hotels, family homes. It's been a little more challenging to find that here in Europe.
Well, Lviv is pretty good with that. I know one restaurant that has a piano and it could play by itself or it could have a person. There's another place, they have jazz on Friday nights, Panorama, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And there's organs, different organs, but I don't know like who has access to the organs in the churches. But
organs, yeah, that sound of the organ in the cathedral, which I've experienced many times at the college I attended, it is probably the most all-consuming atmospheric sound of any instrument created.
yeah.
Voluptuous.
I went to a church with an organ 2 years ago when I was here. Massive organ, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Oh, we're talking about pianos and organs, and there's a song on the radio one, just tapping the keys. It's sort of a bluesy jazz number. And yeah, just really chill.
God, I love the synchronicity of, I know. I actually have to go to the bathroom, so I'm like, I don't know if we should
Oh yeah,
keep,
please.
yeah, let's
Yeah,
keep
you can
going
pause this.
for a
Sure.
little bit. Pause it.
I don't know how you do that, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I feel like what this, because you never know, what comes out of a conversation, but I feel like I should call the title of this conversation kind of what you were saying, is how to co-create the new earth. Because basically that's what we were talking about. We're like, unplug, first of all, don't follow any of the main narratives. Work with Gaia, like protect Gaia, but also spend enough time with Gaia to keep your energy high. But also kind of what I always forget is remember to be playful, like not just creative, but also be playful and stay in a state of gratitude no matter what. Even if you're in a difficult situation or a country that's going through a hard time, it's like no matter where you are, do not subscribe to the fear. Keep thinking positive and spend as much time with Gaia as you can.
Establishing Nova Terra Gaia, Sophia, the wisdom internalized in a planetary being that consciously informs planetary surface and underground, of course, celestial above as well, is our guide. We are the guardians. As guardians, protectors, we are also stewards of servicing. And that is your role, which you dharmically signed up for. And so, of course, you have many roles. And one of those is just to hold space through presence, thoughtful, considerate, kindful, compassion, awareness. And that's at the root of everything. So to do flows out of that. But you are first and foremost a being, a shining light, liquid being of physical form to interlace your fabric of crystals held within the pocket of energy bubbles that get to share themselves in every dimensional flavor, even if you aren't yet aware of that. Like, wow, you're existing at a realm way beyond this right now in your avatar being. And that is now truly dropping down into this connection through here as your eternal self. And then eventually, you'll let go of this temporal body and choose another in the backstage of wardrobes. But that's one of the things to remember is, as much as energy won't be destroyed, it will be changed. Change is a constant. But you can sustain energy, perpetual motion through spinning dance, like the whirling dervish, or like the Colombian tribe of shamans who live in the high Sierra Mountains. They are called the Arawachu or the Wiwu or Kogi peoples. And they spin golden thread and they make their white linen clothes and perceive the eternal, or at least the perpetual energy of this planet as consistent, as constant, and ultimately as regenerative. They're called the older brothers or the mamus, the mother, grandmother caretakers of Gaia. I met one of them in Oakland, actually.
Really?
So, yeah. At an indigenous conference. I've been part of many indigenous circles. And of course, we're all indigenous one way or another. We're all hybrid too. So we get to realize we both belong to this planet, and we're also a part and partial member of another planetary system, which is, of course, how you enjoying your like, oh, I'm a star family, star flower, star seed, tribe of all these wandering explorers from all parts of the galaxy that come to this exact moment in time. Wow, okay, you got here. Good job at arrival. And now, like,
Right.
you don't want to depart yet, right? The plane to the next planet's not leaving yet. It will eventually, but right now we're here to cultivate presence. Like, okay, and out of your presence is play, and that's when your imagination creates games, and games are what we choose to interact through. So someone created Zoom as a game portal, right? It's not exactly the most playful, but it's very instructively useful.
Mhm.
What what are you going to invent today? That could just be a simple chord on a piano that you've never played before. It could be a new textile fabric. It could be a color, a dye, and or it could just be a facial expression that you've never tried. Something like that.
True, true. I think some of my favorite um, moments in this city is like when I was in Peru, I'd always buy food from I barely go to the market. I would go to the market and to get fresh juice, but other times I'd buy food from the ladies in the street. Oh, your picture disappeared.
Aha, I'm back.
Yeah, and so I'd buy them from the street, like bananas or carrots or potatoes from the old ladies in the street, or milk or their fava beans. And then that's what I love about Lviv is you can do the same thing here. I'd buy nuts from an older man. I'd buy beans from an older lady. A lot of the times it's and like sometimes I'd have these great conversations with them, or like with the older man I was like, I should bring my nuts over here, like I have a whole bag of nuts but I'm too lazy to peel them, and he's like, yeah, you can bring your nuts here, we can peel them together. And we would have such good conversations, or like with the man that's selling pears, and he's talking about his pears and how he like before COVID and before the war, he'd have a whole line of people buying his pears, but not as much now. And like, these kinds of cute conversations. But I
Yeah,
think we should end it because we're already like past an hour.
yeah,
I'm a little bit tired. I think I need to spend
sure.
some time in nature.
Yeah, I'm gonna hydrate my voice, and as much as I want to go outside today, the rain is pouring. So I'm gonna keep drinking chai tea and coffee here in this lovely Mallorca island, north shores of Mallorca, about an hour drive from the city airport of Palma. Yeah, it's relaxing. And tomorrow, if the sun comes out, I'll go back on the beach and swim in the water. It's so warm here. So I'm sending you warmth. I'm
Thank
sending
you.
you palm tree,
Yeah,
date
because it's a
palm,
bit gray here.
sweetness.
A bit gray here.
Yeah. It's so sweet that we can share our vibration. I really appreciate you creating this platform and inviting me. It's been a joy and honor, Kat. And I look forward to when we get together potentially as soon as this winter back in California. If you choose to return, I'll be flying into San Francisco December 7th, and potentially staying a month there. But yeah, we'll keep up to date, and hopefully get a chance to do this once more outside, where we interview our instructional practices, breath work,
Yeah.
um, prana chi movement, and yeah, I'd love to do that.
Yes. We'll do that.
Okay.
Stephan is really good with the breathing. He showed me this. So, I only remember one, but so we'll do that next time. All right. Thank you, Stephan.
Aloha, Satnam, much love.
Namaste.
Bye.
Or like my friend in Shasta says, namaste.
Namaste, namaste. Aloha.